First, it's an absolute privilege to be standing here in front of such a discerning audience and to unveil to you what has the potential of being another seminal breakthrough in the way autonomics and cognitive technologies converge to bring step gains in your business environments which were otherwise not possible by having one of them in isolation. You know, Gates used to say that innovation is hard. So how do we bring such a fierce desire to continually not just innovate new business models, but also to be able to deliver these quantifiable business gains to enterprises like yours? How do we do that? I'll tell you a little secret. I was thinking about it behind, and the secret is to be able to gather some of the most forward-thinking minds that exist. The Karine Brunets, the Nicolas Marx, the Peter Dagrens, who are changing their verticals right before our very eyes. And then to be able to pay careful attention to how Gerson bankers see healthcare evolving, how they see this new world emerging, and then to be able to design these products that can actually answer to the calls of these forward-thinking minds, the privilege of whom we've got assembled here in front of us today. So you're a part of this journey is what I'm trying to say. And I hope that you find the integration of all your thinking, it culminates into what you will see today as one desk. So if I can, oh, by the way, those of you who do not know me should, I'm a mathematician by training, so I couldn't resist the fact that autonomic raised to the power of cognitive is equal to one desk. So let's look at let's start with what do business users want. Let's start with that. Let's not just start what's cool, what's good. Let's start with what is it that all your business users are asking you for and your CEOs are asking you to be able to deliver. It's mostly about net promoter scores. Business users are asking you to be able to say, give me a good net promoter score. What is this net promoter score? The number of promoters minus the number of detractors. The number of people that say they want to be subscribing to this service minus the number of people that say, no, we do not want to be subscribing to this service. Net promoter scores. When you see the plethora of chatbots invading the market today, you have to find me one person. Switch me to a chatbot. Said nobody ever. Net promoter score gives you a very good indicator of the fact that, like, can we really deliver human equivalent and superior to human level of services? So that's what we're in the business of. So let's start the study and deconstruct this net promoter score and see what it is built of. Well, one of the first things that everybody, and I will fast forward through this because all of you know this too well, one of the first things that net promoter score depends on is mean time to successful resolution. The fastest mean time to successful resolution. How fast can the problem be solved? Not just augmented, not just ancillary benefit. How soon can you solve this problem for me? That's the first thing. Second, you can see first time flexible, first time right. Your ability to say, I can get this problem solved for you the first time and I can be flexible in understanding your problem for you. Now, tickets or no tickets. Tickets imply queuing. You have tons of ITSM platforms that are nothing but elaborate ticketing systems. You have to find me a person who loves standing in a queue for me to subscribe to this tickets philosophy. Can we collectively assemble today in Barcelona, come up with a way that we can say the end of all tickets? Can we come up with a way that we can provide our business users instant gratification? Can we give them self-empowerment so that they can come and talk to the system and the system can understand them and can respond back with the solution without having to just go through this intermediary of opening a ticket somewhere in the ether, standing up in line. As Frank, who collects speeding tickets for a living, will tell you, he is not a big fan of tickets, and I would agree with him. So what else is the business? This is an equation for net promoter scores. If you get mean time to resolution right, if you get first time right, if you get instant gratification right, and if you get self-empowerment right, you have achieved what are the contributing factors to getting a good net promoter score for your business users. That's the formula for it. In doing so, is there a way that you could disintermediate IT? Classical IT ops, could you just disintermediate that? And what does that mean? You have servers, applications, and networks that exist. And you have business users that exist. If a business user wants to be able to say, order an IP phone, we pull him right down into the ITSM platform. We pull him right into the ITIL v3. We make him go to the service catalog, select CMDB, let him go to the asset manager, let him select hardware, big phone, open up a form, select add device, hit submit, and a ticket gets opened somewhere. Do we really need to pull the business user from his business stack right to the ITSM weeds? Do we really need to know Faraday's principles of induction before we can turn on the light switch? Can we allow the business user to say, hi, I'm Karine Brunet, I run IT ops here. Can I get a phone? Can I get an IP phone? Why is my mail server running slow? What is the printer across the hall from me? Can you do the Salesforce push for me? Can we have the business user just state what they want from IT? And can IT truly understand without the need for the business user to step down into the ITSM and ITIL v3 world that we always invariably pull him down to? And you see a ton of you have excelled in coming up with an RPA strategy, which is great, but it's half the equation. Because RPA, majority of the task is lost in the manual interpretation of like the tickets being opened and this. And in the end, when you click a button and do the robotic process automation for like adding the phone, that's not the main lag. The main lag is all the time that you have taken in the ticket handling. So the weakest link of the chain will determine the strength of the chain. And the weakest link of the chain happens to be the ticket handling, massive, weighted process here. Is there a way that you could possibly direct connect the server, the applications to the business users? Disintermediating vast segments of offshore, often offshore-centric IT operations, elevating your IT to more value creation kind of tasks. Could you do that? And if you do that, you would achieve end-to-end automation. And then should IT stop at providing this end-to-end connection, or could IT provide the integrated solution for HR, for finance, for administrative, for facilities, for audit, for just about any purposes, could you have an integrated solution that IT would be able to provide you? And that becomes a key for you to examine. And is there a solution like this possible? So ask yourself this question, and then let's try to examine if such a solution is possible. Integrated enterprise service desk. Is it possible? Here are the IT assets. Here is our business user. The business user is looking for a good Net Promoter Score, good customer satisfaction score. And this is Gartner Research Board's research here. All of you have gone through the first S-curve here. Each one of you has consolidated parts of your IT operations, have standardized and moved your data centers together, have got standard operating procedures for running them, and in varying degrees have done wage arbitrage as well to be able to get some cost efficiencies here. Now you're reaching a point of key determination. This curve is saturating. You're at incrementalism stage. You're squeezing 2 to 5% out of that equation year on year if you really work that curve hard. You throw in a digital accelerant. The catalyst is digitization. And you throw that curve, digital accelerant, and you can cross this chasm into a much steeper curve of performance and productivity enhancement, which is mimicking actions, augmenting expertise, and collaborating on outcomes. And extending from the back office, where RPA is half the equation, straight to the front office. This is the key to crossing this chasm. So how would this work? Well, if you take the back office and build in autonomics, it cannot be a ticketing system. It cannot be just an RPA, because you're just addressing part of the problem. You have to have end-to-end automation. You'll be able to see it today in action. You fix once, forever fixed. It cannot be, oh, manual, I will create these scripts. Manually, I will record these automations. As the CEO of IT at Goldman Sachs told me at dinner a little while back, he said, Chetan Dube said, Nicolas, he's another one from France, from Normandy, but we won't hold that against him. But he said, manual automation is an oxymoron. Why manual and automation should not be the same? It has to be learning, self-learning automation, created by empirical learning techniques, just by observing the behavior of the engineers. Automated automation is equal to autonomics. That's what you need at the back office. You need an autonomic backbone. But that's half the equation now. You're still not connected to your front office. Yeah, this is just handling your IT infrastructure. This is not handling all the front office demands. But you layer on top of it cognitive competence. You layer on top of it an ability to understand the business user directly, to be able to say, what is your request? Understand the business users and translate it into the ITSM backbone. And the ITSM backbone itself automatically takes that task, remediates it, and is able to pipe the results back directly to the business user. And what have you created? You have created what we are about to unveil to you. You have created the next generation of self-empowered, self-healing, cognitive plus autonomic system, which will directly solve the business user's problems and extend the IT proposition from the weeds of ITSM straight to the business user, which we call one desk. So I want to, rather than talk about it, I want to now show you the technology. So you can see this technology in action. We have the privilege of having the Global Chief Information Officer of Carestream, Gerson Banker, who's always been a pioneer, and his reason for existence, Gerson, we will call on you in just a moment. His belief has been that I need to continually change and continually innovate. And that's one of the reasons why 3 years ago he was talking about this ability to bring autonomic and cognitive competencies together to be able to create what has taken shape today. And I will get two gentlemen here on stage with me who will display what has been created for Carestream, and then I would like to invite Gerson after that to talk about this technology. But one thing I'm particularly proud of, and I think each one of you should be, the autonomic backbone for this next generation has been created right here in the continental Europe. We have flown in the principal lead architect of the autonomic backbone, Oleg, who's here with me. And we also have Georg, a fine young Austrian gentleman who is responsible for the cognitive side. So may I invite the two of them to the stage. So here you have, so now this is the ITSM backbone, yeah? And I will just quickly show you some things, and then I will have Oleg run you through the bases. Classic ITIL v3, everything that you would want in an ITSM platform. Service design, service transition, continual service improvement, service operation, Six Sigma principles, all of those tenets are built into the platform. The one key differentiator to this platform is that it is automated. Discovery is automated. Fix a problem once, it is forever fixed. It is automatically creating the automated checks that you need to be able to fix the problem and forever be able to engage in that so that the system doesn't need to be able to continually be manually scripted. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to have Oleg show you some of the things like, let's say we want to discover a new set of devices in the Carestream environment, and I'll have Oleg run this, the basis for this.
All right, so there are multiple ways to get devices into one desk. Of course, you can manually enter devices, you can just create them manually, but it's all about automation. So we can automatically import whole subnets. We can discover cloud devices like Azure or AWS. When devices are in one desk, then we can deploy monitoring. And when monitoring is deployed, we're able to detect problems again automatically. And important part of automatic discovery is that one desk is able to discover relations between different devices. So like if you have a DNS server or you have database server and they're connected to each other, then we can detect it automatically. And of course, services running on the same server, we can detect all such links. When devices are discovered, they go into monitoring. And here directly we can see status of all services associated with specific devices. And of course, we can see global overview of all monitored devices. When something happens and incident is detected, if something goes wrong, then we create a task. And task goes straight to one desk. If we have an automation ready to resolve the issue, to resolve the task, then it's resolved automatically without any human intervention. But what if there is no automation? What happens then? So let's take a look. Here's an example of a task created, and there is no automation able to resolve it currently. So there are multiple steps when one desk is able to detect it. First of all, it looks into data itself. So we monitor devices, and we get the latest status of devices like every 5 or every 1 minute, and we are able to automatically detect deviations from normal operation conditions. It means that you don't need to configure lower and upper bounds for something. One desk is able to automatically discover and automatically show anomalies, and it's able to detect if something goes wrong. For that, we use 9 algorithms. And each algorithm votes yes or no, if it's anomaly or if it's not anomaly.
So even the monitoring, Nicola, for instance, even the monitoring has to be automated. You run 7 competing algorithms in mean square and histogram bins, 9 of them competing, and then you run fast DTW, dynamic time warping, to see if there is a material deviation from the operating condition. I flew in from New York yesterday. A flight flies always 39,000 feet. If there is a material deviation from the operating conditions of that flight, you should be able to trap it. And you should be able to do this with the intelligence now built into, so you don't have to manually set up your monitoring even. You automatically discover, and you automatically let these algorithms study the operating conditions and say, do we have a material deviation from the operating conditions of this flight that we need to alert our users about? And that's what Oleg is pointing out.
All right, so when something goes wrong, it's not just about one service. A lot of times, it's multiple services or devices related together. One desk is able to detect it by correlating events together. There are multiple ways to detect if some incidents are related to each other. One way is to statically define rules. Another way, and what one desk is also doing, is looking into data of monitored devices, and it is able to detect similar patterns in data. And it uses FastDTW algorithm to detect if something is related. So then you don't have like a storm of a lot of tasks in your queue. You have just one task, something happened, and then you can see everything related to that task. But what if engineers need to resolve it? So we can do it right now. We can try to resolve the problem.
So now an exception has happened, and Oleg is emulating being an engineer in the Carestream environment, going ahead and trying to see if he can solve the problem. But now observe, he's not creating anything. He's going ahead and solving the problem. He's logging in onto the system to solve the problem. In the backdrop, one desk itself is able to study and learn and automatically build the automation that is required to be able to fix the problem. Fix once, forever fixed. That's the power of the autonomic backbone. Automated remediation in the back end is autonomics, as opposed to manual automation, which you find in RPA typical philosophies.
Okay, so as an engineer, I'm just trying to resolve the problem. And I'm investigating the issue, and I fixed the issue. And then I close the ticket. And when I close the ticket, one desk is able to record all my actions. And it automatically creates an automation. And we can just directly see what happens when engineers close ticket. When they close tickets, one desk creates an automation. And that automation is later reviewed and approved by a corresponding department. And when it's approved, it becomes live. And then next time similar issue happens, it's automatically resolved by the automation.
And so you can see, this was created right now. Just by observing, if you were following on what he was doing, he was starting the HTTP daemon, he was looking at the DF disk status on it. Automatically, by empirical learning, you were creating the automation in Carestream environment, dev environment, to be able to make sure that this is automatically remediated the next time such an exception happens. Now, we are particularly proud of the fact that the autonomic backbone has been built right here in Europe, and wonderful job there. Thank you. Now, here's the part that I would do the Men in Black for you. And I don't know how many of you have, I've got 3 little kids, so you see all these great intellectual movies. But Men in Black has got this person who holds a pen in front and says, you look at this pen and you forget everything that you just saw. Because you are business heads. You don't have to worry about any of these things. These are all the best practices that are existing in the background. Now let's talk about how does a business user, this should all be the worry of the cognitive agent on the front, who's translating it to the autonomic backbone, and autonomic backbone is able to direct connect. So let's see if the cognitive agent is able to do the task. And by the way, this cognitive agent needs to be able to handle all your HR, administrative, finance, every accounting, all these things. It is not equal to, it is not supposed to be Workday, it's not supposed to be PeopleSoft, it's not supposed to be Oracle, it's not supposed to be your system for Concur or SAP. We're not in the business of creating these systems. We're in the business of making sure that we make all these systems operate in conjunction, so that the end result query of the business user can be fulfilled instantly. Yeah, that's the main focus of this. And you are able to handle, there's no system today. There are specialist systems that exist in HR. You can say, I want to do this HR thing. And there are some specialist systems that exist. But you can't say to your business user, oh, wait, hold on, I want to do my expense, or wait, while booking my vacation, I want to be able to, wait, I want to be able to find out if you could possibly make sure my entire dental care plan is changed. There's no such system that allows you to be able to handle all the enterprise requirements in an automated way. You're about to meet one desk, the first fully automated enterprise management system. And Georg Utenegger, Dr. Utenegger, will introduce you to how cognitive layer, the top part of it, is providing you and the business users, particularly your business users, the top insulation from all the ITSM backbone in the back.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So we saw how and the autonomics part can handle tasks, and how does this relate to what your users need. Your users might need to onboard a new Carestream colleague. We also looked at ticket data from Carestream and figured out, like, we don't need to ask all the questions from the forms. Like, if it's in the R&D department, we know that the person gets a Mac as a computer. Not a question to ask. In general, we focus on the user experience, also with our director of user experience that we have, where it's about your experience and your users. So I'm now going to say to her that I need to onboard a new Carestream colleague, and I'm going to give her a few more pieces. So in total, we need 5 pieces answered, and I'm going to give her 3 of them. So I'm going to tell her the name, I'm going to tell her that John starts next Monday, and I'm going to give her the phone number. So she doesn't need to ask those questions. You can immediately skip those questions and move on.
Onboard the new employee. What department will your new hire be in?
So what you see also is our enhanced chat. We can show things where we say, like, we start by showing the name. And maybe I made a mistake here. It's actually not John Horn, but John Smith. So I can simply here and reverse my decision again in a thing that in a classical chatbot you will fail to do.
What is the new employee's name?
So I'm going to say, I messed up the name. The name is John Smith. And she asked me if I want to continue with the onboarding.
Do you want to continue to onboard a new hire? What department will your new hire be in?
We see directly reflected, it's now John Smith. And now we can also handle different languages. And this can also be enabled within a conversation. So I can now come back to her in German. So I'm going to tell her that he will work in the R&D department. Er wird in der R&D-Abteilung arbeiten. And that switches her to German here in this configuration.
Vielen Dank. Und schließlich, in welchem Büro wird John Smith arbeiten?
And now she asks me in German, okay, what office will he be working in? And we can switch back to English, since that's really our common language here. So I'm going to be saying he will be working in the New York office. And that's it. Now she can create the 7 tasks that are needed.
Excellent. I have created 7 tickets. Let me know if there is anything else I can help you with.
Now, this is again credit to Gerson, who pointed out that in creating a new employee for a healthcare provider of the scale of CareStream, you needed to be able to interact with SAP system, you needed to be able to interact with remote access, mobile devices, desk phones, supply chain logistics, and a new computer request infrastructure, all of those data points that you had given. Why not have an integrated way that you could just ask your cognitive system that handles all of these back-end tasks? And I think that's what you see here in what Georg has presented to you.
And now let's say that reminds me that since John Smith is getting SAP account, maybe that reminds me now, oh, I actually also need SAP access. And given that we are in Spain, let's try this in Spanish here with necesito acceso a SAP.
Claro, me encantaría ayudarte a configurar una cuenta SAP. Es esta solicitud debido a un cambio de posición, es decir, función de trabajo.
And as a difficult human being, I might then just change course, and I might not be more interested in like the status of my computer ticket for John Horn. You can also use speech to text. We'll have to see how the kind of feedback comes in. Amelia, what's the status of my ticket for the new computer for John? Yeah, and with the echo, she didn't really get enough information to switch here. So we are moving on. So like here, we'll see another feature where we can then select these things, and let's then try to really give it to her.
All right, give me a second to fidget. Let me know if there is anything else I can help you with. Do you want to continue with your SAP access request?
So we've seen the context switch. I interrupted her. I'm like, okay, now I'm really interested in my ticket status. She can also then do a proper search, so it's no magic here. She now knows, okay, it's my ticket, so we can limit the search. It's about the computer for John. And we just have created a task that is reflected as a ticket, which is 1622. We see this up here. And this happens to be what she now can give back to me. She gives me back the ticket. She's saying like, okay, it's linked with other tickets. We were saying like there's 7 tasks in total that need to happen. And you see it's linked to 6 other ones. So this is the leading one, the new computer, since it was also the first one. And you can see that the last one is the number 1640. And she remembers, oh, we were actually in the process of setting up SAP. So all of this together shows you how this can be used by business users. She can context switch as needed. She can interact in different languages. She interacts with in the one desk, being trained in one desk. Amelia shows this directly out of the autonomics backbone. So this is really a direct view on the autonomics backbone, where I could even see what Oleg has shown you before for cases where you have more IT-savvy people that might want to see those details as well. I would say these are really key things here. We could show you more like PTO, concurrent integration, but I think
if you just say the PTO, you could run through an example. But I would say one thing on this observation here. Monsieur Denis, who's here, the Chief Digital Officer for Paribas, again, we give credit to what's due, where we have benefited from the thought. He sent us a paper which is really kind of an eye-opener. When you look at the chatbots that exist outside of the industry, and you find that there's a plethora of chatbots, and the paper that, as I said, Philippa had sent, Monsieur Denis had sent us, said, on a Stanford Binet score, human IQ, total score of 140, people in this audience 130, 18-year-old 97 IQ, 12-year-old 65 IQ, 6-year-old 55.4 IQ. The sharpest intelligent tool that exists outside, Google Brain, 47.24 IQ. Siri, 22.1 IQ. That's the equivalent of a doorknob. How do you expect to get good customer service while talking to a 5-year-old? That's the paradox you face in the industry today. This is a paper that, again, I credit Monsieur Denny, who is the Chief Digital Officer at Paribas, for sending this research our way. And that's where all chatbot systems are single-threaded. They only walk this way. They are glorified IVRs. They really don't context switch. They don't understand what you're saying. That's why you find yourself almost always wanting to say, talk to a human. Here is a system that can actually context switch. Here is a system that was actually doing an SAP access while setting up a computer access, whilst looking at his requirement for now getting PTO done, and it can switch between all these different tasks exactly the same way an intelligent human being would. And for that, I think we credit a lot of the people here in this audience that I know well off have contributed to the research leading up to this, allowing modeled after, for those of you who are interested in the theory, it is modeled after the theory of spread activation of human brain, how your neocortex activates certain segments of your brain, lights them up, a synapse travels in that segment of the brain, and then it context switch by lighting up another section of your brain. And that's the theory of spread activation and beta attenuation after which this is modeled.